Have you ever been trying to learn something and you just feel stuck? Or maybe you're on the other side, trying to teach someone, and it's just not clicking. Well, what if I told you the problem might not be the subject at all, but the kind of goal you're setting? Today, we're going to dive into a simple but really powerful distinction in learning that could honestly change everything for you. Okay, so let's just start with a quick question. Is memorizing a historical date the same thing as learning how to write a persuasive essay? I mean, is learning a simple definition the same as figuring out how to use that word creatively in a sentence? The answer feels kind of obvious, right? But the way we frame our goals for these totally different tasks, well, that's what really matters. And it turns out the answer lies in how we categorize our goals. See, not all learning intentions are created equal. They basically fall into two powerful categories, and just understanding this difference is the key to becoming a way more effective teacher and a way more effective learner. So let's break down what we're going to call open and closed goals. That's right. The goals we set, let's call them learning intentions, are either closed, meaning there's a very clear, obvious finish line, or they're open, where success is much more of a journey. And let me tell you, getting this one distinction right can completely transform your entire approach. All right, so let's kick things off with the first type, which is the more straightforward of the two, the closed intention. Now, if you're someone who just loves clarity, who loves concrete steps, this one is going to feel super familiar. You can think of it as the checklist approach to learning. So a closed learning intention is all about a binary outcome. It's absolute. You can either do the thing or you can't. You either know the information or you just don't. There is absolutely no gray area here, no in between. And, the perfect metaphor for this is just a simple light switch. It's either on or it's off. You've either hit the goal or you haven't yet. It's this clean, simple yes or no way of looking at success. Our source material actually gives us a perfect classroom example of this. Can a student define the word explicit? It's a yes or no. Can they point to an explicit meaning in a text? Again, yes or no. That is a closed goal right there in action. And because that destination is so crystal clear, so absolute, the path to actually get there is equally clear. You can pretty much lay it out like a recipe or a set of step-by-step instructions. And yeah, this really shows that checklist path perfectly. To define a term, you learn it, you memorize the important parts, and then you say it back. Check, check, and check. Goal accomplished. It's a totally linear, predictable process. Okay, but what about all those skills that aren't so black and white? Well, that brings us to the other side of the coin, the open intention. If closed goals are all about reaching a very specific destination, open goals are all about the quality of the journey. So, unlike that simple yes or no of a closed goal, an open learning intention operates on a spectrum. Success isn't just a single point you have to hit, it's a whole continuum. You can be a little bit effective, moderately effective, or incredibly effective. And we've got the perfect metaphor for this too. If a closed goal is that on-off light switch, an open goal is a dimmer switch. You can always turn the brightness up a little bit more. It's not about if you did something, it's about how well you did it. Now here's the example from our source for an open goal, explaining why an author chose to imply something. That's not a yes or no answer, right? One person's explanation might be pretty basic, while another's is super insightful and nuanced. They're both answers, but they exist on totally different points of that effectiveness spectrum. So, if you can't just follow a simple recipe, what do? Well, for open goals, you don't need a checklist. What you need is a toolkit. You need a whole collection of different strategies and skills that you can pull from to tackle the problem. And this is what that toolkit could actually look like in practice. To really explain an author's choice, you might need to analyze their tone, or maybe you consider the historical context. You evaluate specific words. There's no single path. You have to choose the right tools from your kit for the job at hand. So you've got the checklist on one hand and the toolkit on the other. Let's put these two powerful ideas side by side, because seeing them together is really where this whole theory becomes a practical tool you can use every single day. And this right here just sums it all up perfectly. For closed goals, success is binary, yes or no, and you follow a set of instructions. For open goals, success is a continuum, and you use a toolkit of options. I mean, think of it this way. One requires you to follow a map, while the other requires you to know how to navigate. Big difference. Okay, so this is all really interesting, but why does this distinction actually matter in the real world? Because honestly, understanding whether you're facing a closed or an open goal is a total game changer, whether you're teaching a class, learning a new hobby, or even training for a job. Here's the big takeaway. If you're teaching a closed skill, give people a clear checklist. If you're teaching an open one, your job is to help them build a toolkit. And if you're the one who's learning, you need to ask yourself which one you need. That simple shift in perspective is the absolute key to designing better lessons, giving better feedback, and just learning way more effectively. And that really brings us to our final thought for today. The next time you set out to learn something new for yourself or for someone else, just ask this one question. Is this a light switch or a dimmer switch? Am I building a checklist that I just need to follow, or am I building a toolkit I need to choose from? Trust me, the answer will define your entire path to success.